This is Rob Morse of the Self-Defense Gun Stories podcast. I'm reminding you that this podcast is one of the many good ones on the Self-Defense Radio Network. Check out the other podcasts at selfdefenseradio.net.
Welcome to Unload and Show Clear, the podcast about all things IDPA. And now, here's your host, the high-functioning marksman, Lloyd Bailey.
Welcome to another episode of Unload and Show Clear. This is a podcast about the men and women who compete in IDPA, International Defensive Pistol Association. Now, I've been attending IDPA matches since 2011, and over the years, I've met some really amazing people thanks to this sport. Ignore all the colorful jerseys and the sponsor logos, and underneath you're going to find everyday men and women who volunteer their time and their effort and spend their hard-earned dollars on travel, match fees, and gear to make this sport great. And today you're going to meet another one of these awesome people. But first, I want to thank today's sponsor. So you got a gun and your concealed carry permit. Now you need a holster, and not just any holster. You need a holster that is custom made for your gun, one that provides secure retention and which is comfortable for you to wear all day long. What I want you to do is check out our friends at Hog Holsters, HAWG holsters.com. Veteran owned and operated, Hog Holsters offers a custom line of inside the waistband holsters, sheaths, and magazine carriers in multiple colors and mounting options for the most popular handgun models. They're fully adjustable for cant and ride height, and they're handmade in the great state of Arizona using all American parts. Every part from the kydex right down to the screws is made right here in the USA. Get a quality handmade holster, great customer service, free shipping on every order, and you can save 10% off your order of $30 or more when you use the promo code USC10 at checkout. HogHolsters.com, HAWG holsters, helping America wear guns. HogHolsters.com. Our special guest today is Matthew Peninger from Nashville, Tennessee. Matthew, welcome to the show.
Hey, Lloyd, what's up, man?
How are you?
Thanks for having me on.
I had the unparalleled pleasure of being squatted with you at the Oklahoma State IDPA Championship, and glad you agreed after that experience to come on the show anyway.
Hey, I had a great time shooting with you at Oklahoma. Luckily, we were able to avoid the rain.
Yeah.
It was mostly cloudy that day.
So tell us a little about yourself and what you do for a living there in Nashville.
Well, I work for a complete boob. I'm self-employed. I'm a general contractor. I grew up in construction. Started swinging a hammer with Dad when I was in high school, and that's just that's been my blood. And except for about a 4-year stint in advertising and business intelligence team with a non-mentioned company here in Nashville, I've been in construction, residential construction, new homes and remodels. So I think it was last spring. Last March, decided to take the jump and go out on my own. And
Nashville's a good market for it.
It is a happening market. I mean, if people aren't building new homes, they're wanting to remodel theirs. So, so I've been very busy. My wife and I have been married 16 years plus, a little bit. We've been in Nashville since 2010.
All right.
And
feel free if you want. We can re-record that part so it doesn't sound so indecisive.
Yeah, I need to be a little less indecisive.
The wife might hear this,
especially the marriage part.
Right. So, are you originally from the Nashville area? Where did you grow up?
Well, I grew up actually in the hometown of one of your previous visitors to the show, Kevin Farrah, Evansville, Indiana.
Oh.
Born and raised up there, right across the river from Henderson, Kentucky. So born and bred in Hoosier blood. So let's not tell too many people in the Nashville area that I'm not a Nashville native, because they'll probably end up on the front porch with pitchforks and
they might disown you.
Yeah.
Throw catfish at you or something.
Hey, I'm good with the catfish throwing, especially if it's down at Bridgestone Arena at 501 Broadway.
We won't get into that.
No, we won't.
Let's dredge that up. So, where did the interest in guns come from? Was it something that you were taught early on, or something that you kind of grew into?
It was definitely something that I grew into. Growing up, I spent so much time playing sports. We just did not have a lot of firearms in the house. And the real interest, of course, we had some friends' parents that would take us, shooting out in the cornfield sometime. But the real interest really didn't start brewing until I came home from Iraq at the end of 2008, beginning of 2009. And that was actually when I bought my first pistol.
Okay.
And then, of course, over those next couple of years, bought a pistol or two. But it was really when we were down here in Nashville is really when the interest for shooting and the competitive shooting sports really took off.
You returned from overseas. What branch? I'm assuming you were in the service. What branch?
Yeah, U.S. Army, activated with the 76th Brigade Combat Team with the Indiana National Guard.
Very good. Well, thank you for your service.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Spent 9 years in that, and did a tour, in 2008. So it was when I came home that really I started to look at having my own firearms.
Is it mainly just a self-defense or home defense kind of thing?
Yeah, I believe it was. Especially when we were still back in Indiana. It was more so something for everyday personal protection and for the home. Yeah.
Okay. So how did you get introduced to competitive shooting?
It was actually, I think it was beginning of 2014. It was that spring. And you remember the show Top Shot on History Channel?
Oh, yeah.
So I was doing a rewatch one night of one of the seasons, and I kind of looked at the wife, and I was like, I wonder if this kind of stuff would be cool. I wonder if they got any kind of shooting competitions, around the Nashville area. And she's like, well, I mean, you should check it out. So I did a quick Google and found out that there was a...
Now that's a supportive wife right there.
Yeah, I mean, it was great. She's kind of like, yeah, go for it. She's like, if they're doing applications for a show like this, you should apply. I'm like, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. But did a quick Google, and I found that there was I think at that time they were running a bi-weekly match indoor at one of the ranges, an IDPA match, and they had a contact listed, so I emailed, and he's like, hey, man, yeah, come out, check it out. And he's like, I would recommend bringing, your iPro and your firearm and any holsters or magazine carriers you may have. Because a lot of people come out to check it out. And they're like, wish I would have brought my stuff.
Right.
I could have shot. So I ventured out that night with a Glock 27 and a Black Hawk Check 6 holster. And I kind of told the guys, it's like, look, man, it's guns, it's shooting. I think I'm going to like it, so I'm not here to watch. I'm here to shoot. And
did you know anything about how the sport worked before you ventured to say, I'm ready, let me in there?
I did a quick, I think I did a quick internet search and found the rule book and kind of glanced through it, but pretty much not a clue. It was just show up, let's make some noise. Maybe we'll hit a target. I don't know.
Right. How hard can it be, right?
Yeah. Point it that way, pull the trigger, it goes bang, right?
And what do you remember of that first local match?
It was terrible. and the funny thing is I was going through my Instagram history, searching for something else, and I came across a couple of those clips from that first match, and I'm just like, I'm looking at the phone, just shaking my head. And I'm sure if somebody else would have seen me, I'm probably sitting in the cart at the local grocery store, they're thinking I'm having a seizure or something, because I'm just like half chuckling, wanting to cry, shaking my head like, this is horrible. And it wasn't pretty. It was, I probably should have deleted that post, honestly, but but I was bit, man. It was the bug. I was like, okay, this is great. This is the wrong holster, and this is too small a gun.
Right.
And I think it was before the next match, I'd pick something else up.
And you're now a master in ESP, SSP, and CCP. What was the transition like to going from never shooting a competitive match before to becoming a masterclass shooter? How quickly did you jump into the sport and decide, I want to be good at this?
Well, it was, so within the first couple weeks, I went out and bought a Glock 19. Mm. Bought the compact 9mm, and then I turned around and I didn't shoot another IDPA match until that following winter, the beginning of 2015. Oh. For whatever reason, I don't know. No clue. But again, I was like, when I was talking to my wife, I'm like, what? This past spring, I went and shot that match, and I think I need to go back. Yeah, that was a pretty cool match. I don't know why I've never gone back. She's like, yeah, you need to. And I was like, oh, okay. So like I think it was, yeah, all right. Basically walked me to the front door and locked it behind me. Just I started shooting the local biweekly matches that spring. So that would have been like March, April 2015, and joined a local shooting club here, and they would put on a monthly IDPA match. At that time, really wasn't fully invested in a membership at a private range and practice and dry firing and things like that. I mean, I basically had a gun, a holster, and 3 mags in the mag carrier. I mean, that was it. And shot all that spring and summer, and went down and shot my first sanctioned match that September. Was the used to be the annual the Masters down in Alabama,
right?
And I had never, of course, never shot a big sanctioned match like that. And I went down and I was like, dude, this is cool. and I just loved it. I was with on a big squad with a lot of the Nashville, Middle Tennessee boys, and we just had a great time. And I thought I got done, and I was like, oh, I didn't do very well. And the guys were like, well, add up your times. And I added them up, and a couple of them, Daniel and Justin, they were like, dude, that'll take first place SSP marksman. I was like, no, I won't. And it took first place SSP marksman. And then I won a gun certificate off the table. And I'm like, this is great. I need to do one every month.
Right. What better way to get somebody hooked than
this is awesome.
Give them a trophy and a gun.
Yeah. So that's where it really, that's where it just took off from there. That's where it really, the rocket boosters kicked in.
Right.
And that was, that was when I started to really talk to some of the guys that I'd really bonded with on the range, because that camaraderie is just great. And we started talking about things outside the actual club or sanctioned match on how to start becoming a better, more proficient shooter.
How did that translate into practice? Was it more local matches? Was it dry fire? Was it more live fire? All of the above?
I would say it was heavily concentrated in more local matches and live fire. Went out and found a private gun range where I could go out and actually have some target stands and sticks and wall sections to set up a little, mini course. Or even if it was just going out and setting up 3 targets at 10 yards and working on, hands at surrender, turn and draw, transitioning between targets, slipping a dummy round somewhere in the magazine. Just that was where it really started to try to act like a sponge. Admittingly, did not do a lot of dry fire. Admittingly, still don't do as much as I should.
Yep.
But
I understand that.
You always tell yourself, I need to spend 20, 30 minutes and hang the timer on my belt and just put the holster on and just work on slapping the gun or getting it out and getting a sight picture on a target or something. But it just seems like you come home, you start working on dinner, and then sit down and go through QuickBooks real quick, and then the next thing you know, you're kind of like,
life happens.
So yeah, it does. So that was really live fire.
Yep. So how many after that first sanctioned match at the Masters, how many sanctioned matches have you participated in, and do you have a memory of any one in particular, or a stage, or just something that happened over the past few years that would be a fun story to share?
Yeah, I've got a couple of those. I've probably shot since that fall of 2015, probably, if I had to guess, maybe 20, 25 matches. This year's really been the big exception. I would say maybe on an annual basis, I would have shot maybe 3 or 4 sanctioned matches. It was that following spring after that 2015 match. This is a match that sticks out. It was the 2016 Alabama State Championship, and I was on the top of the mountain, and I had just done so well at Masters. And I was expecting to go down here and do so well at the Alabama State, and I'm running around, basically shooting every local match I could shoot. Coming out of that winter, that first February, March-ish time frame. And I put so much pressure on myself, and I went down to Alabama, and I stank like a skunk hit on the highway. I mean, it was bad, man. I mean, it just, and I was, part of it was Alabama State was always known to really, work some intricate movers in. They got laser activators and things like that. I'd never really had a lot of experience shooting on that. But as horrible as I shot that match, that was one of the best matches I've ever shot. And I say that to most people, and they're kind of like, "Are you on drugs?" And I'm not.
I'm scratching my head here. I'm intrigued.
I was able to take so much away from that match and that performance and that time leading up to it. I walked on there, and it was the first couple stages, and I bombed it, and then I took it from that bay to the next bay. And I just let it build throughout the entire match. And it drowned me. And so, in the Army, you do an after-action review after any kind of training exercise, after any kind of event.
Right.
And you write your pros, your cons, what could have gone better, and then what do I need to do to make it go better. And I really was able to sit back and reflect on that match and say, I put too much pressure on myself. I didn't go out there really to have fun. I expected to perform at some level, which, looking at it retroactively, I was still so green to the sport.
But you had that early taste of success, and you feel like maybe you expected that, well, okay, I did great at that last one. I'm going to do great here today.
That's exactly what it was. And when I didn't do great on a stage, I got flustered, and like I said, I carried it from that stage to the next stage to the next stage, and it was a bad day, but it was a good day also. So I really tried I altered some things going into upcoming sanction matches from then on. I'm there to have fun. Yes, I'm there to compete, but at the same time, this is a hobby. Mm-hmm. This is a great sport. Life and death decisions are not being made upon how I, shoot at a match. Yes, I still want to do well, and I still get frustrated at times with maybe some accuracy or the stage play went bad or something. But what I've really try to work on is if something happens on a stage, once I leave that bay and I go to that next stage, it's all brand new.
Right.
Because and the reality is that most people we're shooting against, and this is across all divisions and classes, is somebody's going to have a mistake. They're going to flub something. They're going to trip. They may pull the trigger and throw a shot. Mm-hmm. And everybody's really going to have something happen during that match. So allow yourself the knowledge that it's okay if a stage does not go exactly how you envisioned it and how you expected it.
Right.
And you leave it in that bay and you go to the next one.
Short memory.
So, yeah, real short memory.
Well, I don't know whether you said you'd heard some of the previous episodes, and you might not have heard this segment. Let's play a little something I like to call Pick Your Poison. And the idea here is I'm going to give you a couple of one or the other scenarios, and it's up to you to tell us which you prefer and why.
Okay.
So you haven't heard
Vanilla milkshake. No, I haven't heard this one.
Awesome. This is what I live for. All right. So, you shoot standards at a sanctioned match. Do you prefer, if you had your choice, would you shoot them the first stage of the match or last, and why?
So how big a standard stage are we talking? Are we talking like one target, 6 rounds? Or are we talking like...
No. Not one of those little cheapy so-called warm-up stages.
Okay. All right. So it's not a warm-up stage. I would definitely prefer it towards the end of the match. Trigger finger is warm, kind of in my groove. Standards, you've heard the saying, standards won't win you a match, but they sure as heck will lose it.
Yep.
And I know that for a fact.
You're a master in ESP, SSP, and CCP. If you couldn't shoot any of those divisions, what would you choose and why? I think CDP. CDP has been the division that's kind of given me some frustration because, of course, ESP, SSP, CCP is all the little bullets, little 9mm. Right. Then you go to CDP and you shoot the big whole gun. So I've got a couple of demons in CDP that I need to lock horns with and see if I can tame. Really makes you think and really makes you be a little bit more judicious with your use of marksmanship.
Yeah, that's it. Judicious with your rounds.
If you had to choose a stage where you were shooting on the move all the time, or where you were shooting lots of moving targets, which do you prefer? Moving, or the targets moving?
Oh, geez, man! Now that's you just threw me a curveball. Well, I will say that I do get my shooting on the move fill a lot of the times over in that other sport. And I think one of the things I like about IDPA is the movers and the challenge of them. So I am going to go with, give me a stage with multiple movers. Give me a match with multiple movers. And let's really see how I can navigate that challenge.
Right. And we had a few stages like that at Oklahoma. Here's a scenario you've probably run into, the hold my beer stage, where you come to a point of cover, a fault line where you've got a steel target that activates a mover, and that mover is disappearing. But you've also got some paper targets that you could also transition to and engage before the mover appears and then disappears. Mm-hmm. Some people decide to take that risk. Some people play it safe. What's, in general, what is your thought?
In general, I'm going to look at a couple of things. Distance to the stationary targets, the number of stationary targets available before the mover appears, and what is the approximate time from the activation, from the steel being hit to the activator or the moving target coming out. If I come up to a fault line and I've got two stationaries that are, 5 yards, at 5 yards, your point shoot, you're not looking at sights. You're just throwing it up on the chest and, slapping the trigger twice. If you've got, a slight delay from hitting that steel, and the steel's maybe 10 yards away, so immediately you've got a hit on it, and you've got a delay on the mover. If you've got your groove going throughout the match, especially in the later stages, and you kind of got an idea of how you're performing and how relaxed you are, then I think you've got to kind of weigh the risk versus reward on that. Right. But yeah, if the conditions are right, put something on the steel. Don't drive it with multiple shots. Hit it once, right in that thing, and then come up on your stationaries and point shoot. Put a couple rounds on it, and then engage the mover. Depending where you are on the stage, if you have any rounds left after engaging the mover, you can take a quick glance at the stationary targets, and if you need to do a makeup, you can always do one on that, because of course the timer stops.
Right.
The last shot.
Exactly. Well, that's probably that's probably the most
too gamer of an answer.
Well, it's probably the most cerebral answer I've gotten. At this point in your shooting career, what would you say what part of your game is your strongest part? What's your strength, and what part of your game needs the most improvement?
Oh gosh, I would say the strongest part of my game is I have gotten a lot better on leaving a mistake behind. I used to really let it fester. Mm-hmm. And it's happened. Can't do anything about it. Let's move forward.
Right.
I've really noticed in the last few matches this spring that I must have spent a lot of time last winter hibernating and eating because I'm approaching 40, and
you're still a spring chicken then.
No, but I put on a little extra insulation, and I really think one of my biggest weaknesses right now is my physical shape, which is affecting my stage movement, my footwork. So that is something that I need to get serious, not only just for the game, but just overall health moving forward. Because I think really if I can get into a better physical shape, drop a few pounds, and then concentrate on my footwork throughout a stage, that I can really start cutting down some of that raw time.
Besides the gun, the mag carriers, the holsters, the ammo, and all the standard stuff that everybody brings in their range bag to a match, have you got something that you always make sure that you take, absolutely have to have, and why?
Something I always have to have in the bag. Funny thing is, I'm sitting here staring at the bag, and I think I don't want to say I'm a prepper, but with my time in the Guard and the Army, I've spent my time in the field sitting in the rain, and sitting in the rain sucks. Amen. So I've always got I've got a GPS backpack, so of course that's got a built-in rain. I guess you call it a rain jacket out of the top flap. Mm-hmm. But in a couple of the pockets, I've always got a couple of cheap emergency backup ponchos. And then I came across at our local sporting goods store a hiking backpack cover. It's made for the larger hiking backpacks. but it's got a drawstring and elastic band around it, and it fits perfectly over a cart.
There you go.
And it's only about $5 or $6, so it's cheap weather insurance. So I'd say, yeah, in my bag, I've always got some kind of precipitation,
rain mitigation
fighting
equipment.
tool. Yes, yeah, I've always got something like that.
Could have used some of that at Arkansas State. That would have been nice.
I don't think there was anything that Arkansas State could have saved us.
I cut a poncho out of a trash bag, and I actually tucked it. I tucked it in my pants so that I could still draw my gun.
Brent Ross came walking up to me at Arkansas State. We were on the last couple stages. He's like, "Oh, Maddie, where's your poncho?" I was like, "Dude," "it's doing nothing but keeping the water inside my clothes. So I'm just gonna stand here."
All right, as we wrap things up, what is it about this game that's now hooked you so thoroughly and drives you to get better? And what is it about IDPA? You like you mentioned earlier, you take part in other shooting sports. What is it about IDPA that you love so much?
I think it's where I started competitive shooting, and I've built some great friendships. Some of the guys that I've become friends with are a couple of my closest friends here in Nashville. And even with those that I only see maybe once or twice a year, when you see them, it's like you haven't really not seen them. It's just it's a wonderful camaraderie on the range. Yep. All of us will spend 9 hours on the range to shoot a total of 180 seconds.
Right.
Which you tell that to any non-shooter, and they will look at you like you just grew 3 heads.
Yep. You did,
but
what?
Yeah, you drove to another state and you did all that to shoot for a total of
3 minutes,
3.5 minutes. Yeah. That's the biggest thing is the camaraderie. Of course, you look at some of the shooters that are out there. The Brad Edens, the Mike Seeklanders, the Matt Simses of the community, and there's, I think, a piece in every one of us that desires to push themselves to be better than what they are. That's certainly a trait that's ingrained in me. So it's a challenge, both to compare my skills now and hopefully down the road to what you would say the stars of the sport.
Right.
But also when you go out on the range and you set up your own little stage, and you're going to run that stage 8 times, and you're going to see if you can better yourself each time.
Right.
It's that competitive spirit, that drive.
Yep.
And it's fun. It's fun. I mean, we run around and shoot targets with guns. It's pretty freaking cool.
It definitely is. Well, Matt, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show. Thank you again for your service, and looking forward to seeing you on the range down the road again.
Lloyd, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
All right, that's all the time we have for today. I want to thank our guest for coming on the show and our sponsors for making all of this possible. Take a moment, if you would, to check out the website, check out our show notes at unloadpodcast.com. We've got lots of interviews with more amazing guests like the one you heard today. Join our Facebook group at unloadpodcast.com/Facebook for all the latest updates and to connect with other fans of the show. And if you'd like to support the show, we sure would appreciate it. Consider becoming a patron at unloadpodcast.com/extra. I've got some full-length interviews and special content available there exclusively for patrons as well. And if you know somebody or you yourself would make an interesting guest for a future episode of Unload and Show Clear, please contact me at lloyd@unloadpodcast.com or click on the contact page on the website and send us a message. We'd love to hear from you. Tune in again next time for another episode of Unload and Show Clear.